Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Podcast with an Accent. I'm your host, Vadim Gilyuk, and today I have with me Mark Silverman, author, coach, and an amazing person who's going to share with us many things today. Mark is author of Only Tense, Confront Your To-Do List, Transform Your Life, and the host of Mastering Midlife podcast. Mark, welcome.
Hey, I've been waiting for 2 years to be on your podcast. Thanks for having me here.
Perfect. I'm glad to have you. Mark, what is your accent? What accent do you speak with?
That's so funny. When I was trying to make up some accents just so I could be funny, and I can't do dialects. My son can, uncannily, but I can't. So I think what you're asking me is, what's my why? What drives me every day, and why do I do what I do? And basically, it's because I see a lot of unhappy, miserable people in the world. I see people committing suicide, substance abuse, broken marriages, stress, antidepressants. Just run rampant, and that we've kind of made an quiet agreement with society that that's okay for us to live the kind of life we want to live. And I'm here to bust that myth.
What's your story, Mark?
What's my story? The story that let's see, I told the CEO once, who asked me exactly that. He walks into the room. He was going to hire me for two of his VPs, and he says, "Hey, Silverman, what's your story?" And I said, "Well, dude," I said, I rolled into Washington, D.C. in 1989, 130 pounds, living in my truck. 6 years later, I was a millionaire driving a Lexus convertible. I'm basically a short Jewish Tony Robbins. What else would you like to know? So my story is, I didn't do very well in my 20s. Got sober, went to school, got successful, had some really, really bad run-ins with life, and got my school of hard knocks. And now I want to see if I can help other people thrive and avoid that, rather than stepping on the rake and hitting themselves in the face like I did.
Wow. And that being said, where does your inspiration come from? What are you inspired by?
Well, my inspiration comes from people's spirit. You see people on the surface. You go to a networking meeting, or you go out in public, or you see people on TV, and you see the surface. And once you get past, Brene Brown says it's really hard to hate up close. For me, when I get up close, when I see people's humanity, when I see what people are actually dealing with, and I guess I'm blessed and cursed with being an empath. It really takes courage to be a human being. It takes huge courage to get up every day, suit up, and go out and do what you do. And that inspires me every single day, is just the fortitude that it takes to be a human in this world.
And being the human in this world, being a 20-year-old human, if you went back, does your life in the moment it looks like what you've envisioned it to be when you were back in your 20s?
Well, if we remember the beginning of my story, in the beginning of my 20s, I was drunk and high all the time. I was voted best bartender in New Haven, Connecticut at one point by a newspaper, but that's when I was fun, and I drank and I did coke and did all kinds of stuff. So no, I didn't think I was going to live to 30, let alone into my late 50s. I didn't think I was going to be here. So having two amazing children, having a wonderful ex-wife, having a beautiful partner, and by the way, living in Leesburg, Virginia, didn't see that in my future. So no, I didn't see any of the success. I didn't see any of um, the goodness, the joy. I didn't see any of that coming at all.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Stop drinking. That would be the first thing. But the second thing is, I don't know that I want to give advice to my younger self, because if I changed anything back there, forget just, would I still have the children that I have? Because I wouldn't want to change a thing if my children were any different than they are. But also, all the hurts, all the crash and burn that I did, all of the successes that I had, everything that led up to now, I think is why I'm good at what I do. So I really can't change the ingredients of this soup, this stew that's Mark Silverman, because he's here to do what he does.
From your life or anybody else's life, what is the best story with a valuable message?
I went to this workshop where we uh, they did an exercise where you were either going to be on this lifeboat or off this lifeboat, and there were only 8 seats on the lifeboat, and there was like 70 people in the room, and you got voted on whether or not you should be on the, by how you affected the group of people, those 70 people. You got voted to be on the lifeboat, and you can vote for yourself to be on the lifeboat. And what happened was, uh, I voted for someone else. I gave someone else my vote to be on that lifeboat. Ironically, I didn't even realize it. I got enough votes to be on the lifeboat, which means I get
Wow.
to live. Except I gave away my vote, and if you give away your vote, you can't be on the lifeboat. So first revelation was that that I did those people enough to be one of those 8 people to be on the lifeboat. The second was only 7 people made it onto the lifeboat. There was an empty seat. So not only did I give up my own seat, there was nobody to fill the seat for me. I thought I was giving it up for someone else. So what that taught me was that there is absolutely nobody who can take my place, who can do what I can do in the world. And up until that moment, when I sat there with my jaw dropped, I thought, I'm a dime a dozen. Doesn't matter if I'm here. My kids care about me, but what's the big deal? This really shook me up and said, you know what? You're here for a reason. And I've had several friends die in their 30s, really sterling, amazing people. And me at 58, I'm still here. So there's a reason I'm still here. So that was the most powerful story that I've had in the last several years.
Yeah, being here and every day, enjoying every breath, every morning, being grateful for it, it's pretty powerful.
Every time I interact with you, you teach me that also. I learn from you every time we interact.
Mark, what's the best book that you've read and why?
I'm gonna have to. I have to say 3 books because I read these 3 books at the same time all the time. Uh, I read a book called "I Am That" by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. I read a book called um, "Boundless Intimacy" by Dr. Andrew Bonici. And another one is "The Way of Mastery" by Shanti Christo. And all 3 of them are different flavors, different versions of the reality of life, of what's beyond our basic human existence, so that we can really love this human existence. And all 3 are different flavors, different facets of the prism, and I keep them all on my altar. So when I meditate in the morning, I pick one of them and read from them every morning. All 3 of them just are life changing.
I know you're a book author and you just released a second version of your book. So, do you go back and reread your own books?
So a box of 200 books showed up on my doorstep today, and I was in the kitchen reading my own book, going, "Oh my God, that's so good! Oh my God, I wrote that! I wrote that whole thing for me, man! I of course I read my own books because I need to hear whatever came through me to be written because yeah, we teach what we need to learn, man."
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. You said you wrote them for yourself. Did you scratch your own itch while writing those books?
Yeah, I have to say, it's funny the way people describe me now. So I wrote the book because for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I was all things to all people all the time. Never put myself on the on the list, and for me to learn to have difficult conversations, to set boundaries, and to actually pick and choose, to actually know that I have a choice with what to do with my time, my attention, that I can live the life the way I want to live, no matter what the circumstances look like. My attitudes and my choices and my perspective can change. So I needed to learn those things. The first version of the book, Only Tens, was me discovering this. The new version is 5 years later. I teach workshops. I coach people on it. I live this life. So people would describe me as someone who speaks his mind, asks for what he wants, sets boundaries, right? And does it all with kindness. And that's what 5 years of really intense living my own dog, eating my own dog food has done.
What's your favorite quote, Mark?
My favorite quote is, if you want peace, give up story. If you want to create something, make up story. If you want peace, give up story. If you want to create, make up story. That's from my coach, Steve Hardison.
What's the most important photograph in your life?
Oh, wow. It has to be my two. I have a picture in front of my son's frat house. The first year he went to Virginia Tech, I have my two boys and me, and I just made them do a selfie. And the three of us together, God, you make me cry. Just the three of us together, me with two adult sons, was for me surreal, and it's my most cherished photo.
Thanks for sharing. What turns you on, Mark?
Humanity, man. I watch talent shows all the time because I love people being just ultimately vulnerable and giving it everything they have, whether they get a standing ovation or they get the buzzer and get taken off. I love seeing people be authentic and vulnerable and real and just showing it to the world. That fucking turns me on. I'll cry every morning at a different show contestant.
Did you ask anybody permission to become a coach and a book author and a person who you are today?
Yes. I didn't ask permission to be an author, but I did ask permission to be. It's funny because when I was talking to my coach about writing the first book, he said, "Mark, it's maybe a pamphlet, maybe an article. It's not a book." And then after it sold 60,000 copies, like, okay, I was wrong. But to become a coach, I made so much money as a sales guy, and I had an ex-wife and two kids that I supported in their, luxury house. I had elderly parents. I had so many people who depended on me that I needed the permission to change my life because, becoming an entrepreneur, whether you're a coach, whether you're a consultant, whether, you're a photographer, making that leap from someone else paying my American Express, from someone else paying for my health insurance and my family's, to me taking all that on, I needed all the people who depended on me to be on board in order for me to feel like I was able to do that. And everybody said, Mark, you're born to do this. We believe in you. So it all worked out.
Perfect. Mark, what's the best way for people to find you online?
So markjsilverman.com, Mark, the letter J, Silverman.com. You can get to my books, you can get videos, you can get, free courses. All my courses are free during COVID. So you can go there and sign up. So markjsilverman.com.
Thank you for sharing and thank you for being on the show, Mark.
Thank you for, I love you and everything you do. So I'm just thrilled to be here, be part of this.
The feeling is mutual. And to everybody in the audience, we'll see you next time.